Hey guys, let me just make sure I'm connected here. As you know, I have a habit of starting these broadcasts without you guys. You guys don't, I'm thinking I'm talking and you guys aren't even out there. You're out in cyberspace somewhere. So I'm just trying to confirm that I am on this hangout, and I'm waiting for Andrea to respond. And as soon as she does, I will start. I'm hoping that I am on, and if I am, it's great to see you people here. Great to see I have one viewer. Woo! We need more people in here. This is going to be a great hangout. This is something that every wholesaler needs to know. This is absolutely something that a lot of wholesalers bypass when they're looking to wholesale property. They bypass all the rehab estimates and stuff. Well, how do I fix it, Andrea? I'm not sure how to fix this, so I'm waiting for Andrea to reply. She's saying that y'all see a green screen, that you don't see me, but you can hear me. So we're trying to see how we can fix this issue. All right, trying to figure this darn camera. This says the camera's on. Oh, other people can see me, but you can, Andrea, right? I'm hoping y'all can see me. Hello, I'm in here. Okay, so, all right, so I guess I'm good. Okay, so tonight, what I wanted to talk about tonight is rehab estimates. You know, there's a lot of wholesalers out there that bypass the rehab estimates, or they don't do them properly. And what happens is, if you don't do your rehab estimates properly and you're putting in an offer on that property, and you're locking it under contract, your buyer may go there and his rehab estimates may be a lot higher than yours because you didn't do yours right. And he's going to walk away from the deal because the price that you locked in according to your rehab estimates was probably too high. So I'm hoping that, you know, with this, I can kind of show you how to do some rehab estimates, and I can show you how to do them properly, especially for a wholesaler. Now, let me just start by saying one thing. As a wholesaler going in and doing rehab estimates, your rehab estimates are only going to be basic rehab estimates, meaning you're a wholesaler. You're just wholesaling the property, and you're going to give them a basic rehab estimate, meaning if they want to add a driveway or they want to, do something extreme to the property, that's not going to be in your estimate, okay? Wholesalers will only come up with basic rehab estimates on a property, and that's all you need to do. So, for example, you're going to go into a property and you're going to look at it, or your contractor, but I'm going to say you because I look at my own properties. You're going to go in, you're going to look at it and say, okay, well, it needs new carpets, it needs new paint, it needs new appliances. You're not going to go in and say, okay, well, I'm going to knock out this wall and I'm going to knock out that wall and I'm going to make this a bathroom. That's not up to you as a wholesaler to decide. That's up to your end buyer to decide if he's going to knock out walls and all that. You don't have to put that in your rehab estimate. Your rehab estimate is just an estimate. When you walk into a property, what's it going to cost to fix this property? Basic, okay? Meaning paint, carpets, the basic rehab cost for a property. That's the estimate that you want to come up with. You don't want to go in there and say, okay, well, I'm going to do an estimate to move the bathroom over here, and I'm going to expand this bedroom, and I'm going to move a wall. Your buyer may not want to do that. He may just want to go in and do a basic rehab. So you need to keep your rehab estimates pretty simple. when you're going into a property as a wholesaler, okay? Because you want to try to make the numbers work, and you're not going to take into account the extras that your buyer's going to do. So you're probably saying, what the heck are you talking about, Carol? Let me tell you. Okay, if I'm making an offer on a property, okay, I go in and I usually take my husband with me, or my sons, because we own our own rehab company here in New Jersey. My husband has been a contractor for 37 years. My boys have been holding paintbrushes and hammers since they were 4 years old. It's all they know how to do. They're contractors as well. So I take them with me, and when we go into a property that we're going to wholesale, we go in and we do a basic rehab estimate. I'll start looking at the front of the property, okay? I'm going to look at the front of the property, and if the windows are hanging out, yes, the property needs new windows. If the windows look rotted or dried out, yes, okay, I'm gonna account for new windows. I'm gonna take a look at the roof, and I'm gonna see if the roof is cracking or peeling. When I go inside, I'm gonna look up at the ceilings to see if there's any leaks in the roof. If there's any leaks on those ceilings, I'm gonna say, yes, in my rehab estimate, this property needs a new roof. If the roof looks a little shabby, but you walk in and there's no spots on the ceiling, then that means the roof is not leaking. It does not need to be replaced. So I'm just gonna go from the front of the property. I'm going to say, yes, okay, it needs new windows. The roof looks good. Go in. You're going to say carpet, paint. If the doors have holes in them or they're really broke up, you're going to account for some doors. You're going to rehab the bathroom. Now, I know a lot of you may have went to maybe boots on the ground, or you maybe had some one-on-one training, and they taught you that, you know, how to estimate a bathroom rehab. Like if I go into a bathroom and it's a small bathroom, I'm just going to account for, like, you know, $2,500 to replace the bathroom or whatever. So as a wholesaler, you start out at the front of the property. You're going to see basic costs. You're going to go into the living room. You're going to get a rehab cost, you know, for your carpets, your paint, basics. You're going to go into the kitchen. You're going to get a rehab cost if the cabinets are dingy and the countertops are dingy. I guarantee that your buyer is going to want to replace those. So you're going to go in and you're going to, you know, account for an average kitchen rehab, which I'm going to tell you how to do in a few minutes. You'll go in and, you know, you'll look at the bedrooms. Do they need carpeting and paint? Normally, my buyers, the first thing they do in a property is all the floors get carpeted, all the walls get painted. That's an automatic, okay? So, you know, you're going to go in, you're going to count for the basic things. You're not going to go in and say, well, you know, we're going to knock out this wall, we're going to move this over. No, that's not for you to decide as a wholesaler. As a wholesaler, you just want to come up with a basic rehab estimate on a property. You want to keep it basic. So let me talk about how to do that. Let's say you're making offers on properties unseen. They're called blind offers, and I make a lot of blind offers on the MLS, meaning my agent gives me properties in the MLS. I look through them, and from the pictures, I can estimate a rehab cost without going in the house. I'm going to give a blind offer with a blind rehab cost on the property. Blind offers are those offers that you give sight unseen. The only reason I do that is because if I'm making offers on 100 properties a week, which is normally my norm, I don't want to go look at 100 properties. I give offers, blind offers, based on my formula and my basic rehab cost, and I'm going to tell you that in a minute. I'll put those offers in, and I only go look at those properties if the seller comes back at my offer, or at least 20% within my offer. If the seller does not counter anywhere near where I've offered, then I don't bother going out that door and looking at that property. I want to know that I'm dealing with a motivated seller, which I talked about on my last chat, and somebody who's going to meet me at the price I need to be at. So let's first talk about blind rehab estimates, okay, on a property. Now, what I do is I'll look at an MLS listing, and I'll look at it and I'll see, okay, from the pictures, a lot of times pictures, you can tell what a property needs from the pictures. If you look at the front of a property, you can see the condition of the windows, right? You can see the condition of the roof, right? You can see that from looking at the front pictures of that property, okay? So you would estimate, you know, an estimated cost to replace a vinyl window is around $250 to $350 per window, depending on where you live. In New York, it may be $600 a window, but we're not even going to go there. In New Jersey, The normal cost to replace a vinyl window with labor and materials is $250 per window. So I will look at the pictures and I will estimate the number of windows that a house has. Let's say the living room has 2, the kitchen has 2, each bedroom has to have at least 1, right? So you're going to estimate, say it has 20 windows, you'll times that by $250 and you'll get your price, your blind offer price to put windows in a property. And you write that down. You'll look at the pictures and you'll look at the roof. A lot of times you'll be able to tell if a roof is bad, not always, but most times, by looking at the pictures of the front roof line. Another indication, a lot of times you'll see interior pictures. Zoom in on those interior pictures on the ceilings and see if you see any water stains. Like I said, water stains are an indication that a roof is bad on a property. So now we're talking about blind offers without going in the property, okay? So I'll look through the pictures and I'll look at the kitchen and I'll look at different things and I'll estimate. Now, a good estimate for blind offers is to take the square footage of a property and times it by 20. Let's say you're looking at a 1,500 square foot property, okay? And you want to get an estimated basic rehab cost on that property. When I say basic, I'm not talking about the roof and all that. I'm just talking about basic paint, carpet, new doors, fixing the bathrooms, the kitchen. Basic rehab cost on a property. A good rule of thumb is you times the square footage of the property by 20, and that'll come up with your rehab cost. So, for example, for a 1,500 square foot property, if I times it by 20, my rehab estimate is going to be $30,000 on that property. That's a good estimated basic rehab cost to put in with your blind offer. Again, these are blind rehab costs, okay? We're not getting into detail right now because we're only putting in blind offers, right? We're not going to contract. We're just kind of putting in an offer to see if the seller is somewhere in our ballpark, okay? So I'll look at a property and I'll automatically say, you know what, 20 times the square footage. That's my automatic base number. And then I'll look at the roof and I'll add that in. Let's say, you know, the roof, say 5,000, let's say 250 per window. And you keep adding until you get to a rehab number so that you can run your blind offer formula from the pictures to put an offer in on the property. Now, when you're doing blind offers and blind rehab numbers, remember, if the seller comes back and they're near your offer, that's when you're going to go look at the property. So when you go in to look at the property and you're going to know whether it needs more or less rehab, you can always adjust your offer. You're not in contract yet. So if you go into the property and you see that there's more of a rehab needed than what you thought, you can always decrease your offer and let the seller say to the seller, you know, I sent my contractor in. Unfortunately, the numbers weren't where I thought they were. This is my offer. See where they are. So you're going to confirm your blind rehab offer when you go look at the property. That's only if the seller comes back. So my process on blind offers is a blind rehab estimate. I'm not going to go look at every property. I don't have the time to look at 100 properties if I'm putting in 100 offers. I just can't do it. So I'll do blind offers based on pictures as far as rehab estimates go. I start my blind rehab estimate with the square footage times 20, which will give me a base to work with for my rehab estimates to create my formula to make an offer. So we came up with 1,500 square foot times 20 gives me $30,000 rehab base, right? And I hope you all are getting this because I'm really trying to explain it. So let's say, okay, I'm going to make a blind offer. I'm doing blind rehabs. Estimate the property's 1,500 square feet. I'm going to times that by 20 and get my base rehab cost, which is $30,000. Now that takes care of a lot. $30,000 is going to redo your kitchen. It's going to do your carpets, your paint. It's going to redo your bathrooms. You know, so when you take into that number, you're taking into a lot of your basic rehab cost. And I say basic because that number doesn't cover a new boiler or a new heating system or a new well or a new septic. That's not covered in that number. That number is your basic rehab cost. So by looking at pictures of a property, we're going to do blind offers and blind rehab numbers, okay? We are going to go and we're going to say, okay, our base number is the square footage times 20. That's going to give me my base rehab number, right? And then as you're looking at the pictures, you may notice The windows need to be replaced in this property. I'm looking at the picture of the front of the property. The windows are hanging out the frame. I know these windows got to be replaced. I'm going to estimate $250 per window. Let's say there's 20 windows in the property. You times that by 20, come up with that number, then add the window number to your base estimate, rehab estimate, which was $30,000. Again, your base blind rehab offer of square footage times 20, that's just going to cover your basic rehab cost. That's not covering your roof, your windows, your heating system. It's your basics, okay? It's all of your cosmetic rehab cost is going to be your square footage times 20. It's going to give you a basic rehab cost. And that's a good rule of thumb, because I've always, when I go into a property and I use that formula, 9 times out of 10, I'm right on with my rehab costs when I use that formula, the square footage times 20. So that's for blind offers. There are properties that you didn't go look at, but you want to make offers on. So again, every week I'm making 100 offers on MLS properties, right? I don't want to go look at 100 properties. I don't even want to go look at one. If the seller's not motivated, I'm not going. I want to know that that seller is motivated before I go to that property. So what I do is I'll do blind offers, meaning my agent sends me MLS listings. I'll look at the pictures. I'll run my comps on Zillow. I'll go to see what the estimated ARV is, and I'm going to run my formula based on my estimated rehab costs from looking at the pictures. And I'm going to give them an offer. It's a blind offer. If the seller comes back within 20% of my offer, I'm going to go look at the property and confirm my rehab cost. If the seller doesn't budge, or the seller won't move, or the seller's not even near my offer, I'm not even going to waste my time. I'm going to focus on the ones that I can create deals out of, which is exactly what you should be doing. So again, they're blind rehab estimates, okay? You're timesing your square footage by 20, and you're getting your blind rehab offer. And you can always adjust it when you go look at the property. If it's changed, you're not in contract yet, so you can always go back and adjust your offer. You can walk in this property, and there might be a room where they didn't take a picture of, and you go in that room and you can see the sun shining through, and there's no ceiling, and there's a huge hole. I mean, you never know what they're trying to hide in the picture, so you got to adjust your numbers to make it work. So they're blind rehab offer numbers. That's how I get my blind rehab numbers. Now, let's just say you're going to look at a property, whether you're going to buy it or you want to get an accurate rehab number. I suggest either taking a contractor with you, but there's not a lot of contractors that are going to keep going looking at properties for you without expecting to be paid, right? So it's going to be up to you as the wholesaler or investor to come up with your own rehab numbers. You have to come up with accurate rehab numbers in order to have your accurate investment and profit. Those rehab numbers are very important. They've got to be right on when you do go look at the property, okay? You've got to have those rehab numbers tight. They're not like the blind offers. These are your real offers. These are the offers where you're going to go to contract. So when you go look at a property, you need to have your numbers right. So if you can't take a contractor with you, what are you going to do? You don't know rehabbing maybe, and you have no idea how to estimate things. So I'm going to share something with you that even as contractors that we use. It's called the RS Means Contractor's Price Guide. Let me say that again. RS Means Contractor's Price Guide. You can get it on Amazon. They have a new one that comes out every year with the new prices. As the economy increases, the prices increase. So you can get, the 2015 is available now. So you're going to go into Amazon and you can look for the RS Means, M-E-A-N-S, Contractor's Price Guide 2015. You're going to look for that on Amazon. I think the book is maybe $30, but this book is amazing. I mean, you're going to get this book and it's going to break down no matter what it is you want to rehab in a house. If you want to replace a doorknob, it's going to give you the price of the doorknob, the cost of the labor for the doorknob, the tax, and the total to replace a doorknob. I mean, this book is amazing. It's going to break down everything that you need. If you need to refinish hardwood floors, it's going to break down the sander, the price of renting the sander. It's going to break down the labor cost, the material costs per square foot, and give you a total. This book is amazing when it comes to figuring out rehab costs. I have it. My company uses it. It's called the RS Means Contractor's Price Guide. You can get it on Amazon. Get the 2015 edition. 2016 isn't out yet, but it will be in probably next month. You go through that guide, it's like having a contractor's Bible. I mean, this thing is amazing. It will give you a breakdown of every single detail down to the price of the nails to hang sheetrock. I mean, it's amazing price guide. So you get this book, you go look at a property. When you're at the property, you're going to write down the things that you see the property needs, keep a list of it, right? Then when you go home, you're going to go through your price guide and you're going to get prices for everything that you saw that property needed. And it's going to give you an accurate total of rehab costs to give your buyer. And how awesome is it when you go to your buyer and you say, look, I broke it down, type it out if you have to. I broke it down. This is what this house needs. And this is exactly how much it's going to cost. That's going to build your reputation as a wholesaler because you're giving your buyer accurate rehab costs all the way down to the penny and the cost of the nails. It's just so amazing. This book is incredible. So you really don't need a contractor to go with you to look at these properties. So stop trying to find one. Stop worrying if you don't have one. Get this book, okay? It's called the RS Means Contractor's Price Guide 2015. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on my website, realwholesaling.com. I believe I have it on there. Get this book because when you go to look at a rehab, if you just keep a list of everything that house needs, you go back, you look in your book, you're going to have accurate rehab costs on a property. I mean, how awesome is that? And it's probably going to be better than a contractor because guess what your contractor is going to do? Your contractor is going to go look at that house with you. And when he goes home, he's going to pull out his RS Means Bible. And he's going to look all the prices up, and that's exactly what he's going to do. And he's going to do the same thing that you can do with your own book. So what I'm saying is go get this book. It's about $30 on Amazon, well worth the investment. And it's going to give you a detailed price guide. And it even gives you the price of dumpsters, how many yard dumpsters. It gives you the price, the tax on them. It gives you dumping prices. This book is amazing. It will break down everything you need for every rehab. So when you get a chance, I want you to just look at the book, try to get the book if you can, especially as a wholesaler, because it's going to give you great rehab estimates on a property. Now, again, the first part was the blind estimates, okay? These are properties sight unseen that you want to do a rehab estimate on. You're making blind offers on a property. You're not going to look at the property. You're making blind offers, so you're just going to estimate your rehab costs with your square footage times 20. That's going to give you your basic rehab cost per property to figure out your formula. That basic cost does not include your higher rehab things like your roof to replace a boiler. Let your buyer worry about that. Your only job as a wholesaler is to give him his basic rehab costs on a property. But here's the thing. When you're making blind offers, you're giving a basic rehab cost. You're figuring out the basic just to get the offer. But when you go to the property to look at it, you're going to go ahead and you're going to make a list of what it needs. You're going to come back. You're going to pull out your RS Means Bible, your contractor guide, and you're going to look at it. And then you're going to have an accurate estimate of your rehab costs. And if it's higher, you can go back to the seller and say, look, I had my contractor run the rehab numbers. I'm going to have to offer you a little bit more, less for the property because my rehab numbers are a little bit higher. If they accept, then you go to contract, okay? With blind offers, you're not in contract yet, so you can do an estimated rehab. When you go look at the property, you're going to do a detailed rehab with your RS Means Price Guide, and you're going to pull those rehab numbers together. I cannot stress how important it is to have accurate rehab numbers on a property. Your whole offer, or I should say your whole purchase price, is going to depend on your rehab numbers. So if you're at rehab numbers of 20 grand and you're making an offer based on 20 grand rehab numbers, when you go to sell the property, the buyer's going to think you're nuts. If the property needs 40 grand, there's no spread in there. He's going to walk away from the deal because you didn't run your accurate rehab numbers. It's very important. And it's not time consuming. If you get the book, it's going to take you maybe 20 minutes at night when you go home to look up all these things to see how much they cost and get a detailed rehab estimate for the property. Rehab estimates are very, very, very important to get them together, not only as a wholesaler, but especially as an investor. I've been buying a lot of properties lately. I guess on a property now, I'm having them, and I can't tell you how important it has been to have accurate rehab numbers on these properties as my own investments, because a dime over would have cut me short, So I really need to have these numbers tight when I'm buying properties. And so does your buyer, okay? Because we need to have it tight, because we can't be $1,000 over our rehab budget, which it happens, okay? Like a little window of $5,000 over your rehab budget is normal. I usually account for 20% over my rehab budget. So if my rehab, you know, is $50,000 estimate, I'm going to figure, you know, 20% over that, just for little oopses that I didn't see. Maybe you rip out a wall and now it pops a can of worms, and you got electrical problems. You got to fix them. You never know what you're going to run into. But that's not your worry. You have to worry about giving your buyer rehab costs based on what you see. You don't know what's behind those walls, so you can't give him those numbers, okay? So as a wholesaler, you're just giving him basic rehab numbers based on what you see. You don't know what's behind, you know, the walls or whatever. So, you know, you're going to say repair the walls, but if he opens up the walls and finds out that it needs electrical work, that's something you couldn't avoid seeing. So you didn't account for that in your rehab budget. So again, it's very important to run accurate rehab numbers on a property. Get the RS means price guide. You know, RS means contractor's price guide 2015. Get it from Amazon. Take it home, browse through it. You're going to be amazed at the prices that this thing gives you for everything from the nails to the caulk that's needed to replace. If you got to replace a bathroom, it's going to take you price by price all the way down to how many tubes of caulk you're going to need per square foot. I mean, how insane is that? So the RS means rehab. RS means contractor price guide is a very important book for wholesalers, and I really suggest that you get it so that you can kind of, you know, run your accurate rehab numbers on properties. So, you know, a little bit of, you know, I'm going to answer some questions, okay? But I really wanted you guys to know about how to estimate rehab numbers on a blind offer. I mean, properties unseen. You're going to automatically estimate square footage by 20 to get a basic rehab number. And for your confirming your rehab, the RS means price guide is a Bible when it comes to running accurate rehab costs. And you can do it yourself. You don't need a contractor. You don't need to pay a contractor to go with you. You can run your own rehab numbers with this book. This book is incredible. So get the book so that you can run, you know, your accurate rehab numbers. I'm going to answer a few questions. I'm going to try to answer questions while I'm on this thing, which can be difficult. I'm very stupid when it comes to doing that, but I am going to try. So let me see what I can do, okay? Let me see here. If I can answer some questions, I will. Okay, see if I can do it. Oof. I hope I don't lose you guys, because if I lose you guys, I can't get back on. So I'm going to try to jump over. Let me see how I can do this. Maybe Andrea's still hanging around. Let me see. How can I? Let's see where she is, because I'm afraid if I click something, I don't want to lose you guys. I don't know. It's going to let me. No. Oh, no, you're not. All right, this is great. Oh, my God, I just popped into a virus. No way. There I am. Oh, my God. What is this? All right, I just got this weirdest pop-up window, guys. Windows Defender error code. It looks like some kind of a, I don't know what it is, but it won't let me get back on. So, guys, I'm just going to keep on talking through this because I have no idea. Let's see something. I'm just gonna keep on talking because I don't know how I can get it over here because now my I don't know what happened. Okay, guys, what I'm gonna have to do is possibly go out of chat, go out of this video so that I can answer questions because my computer, I don't know what just happened, but I just got some kind of a virus pop-up thing. But anyway, you know, as I'm waiting for Andrea to answer me, look, guys, it's really important to run your rehab numbers. You've got to be as accurate as possible when you go to contract. As far as running your rehab numbers, you know, sight unseen, run your blind offers, your blind rehab costs. Just multiply your square footage by 20 to get a basic rehab cost, okay? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Andrew's going to text me questions, okay? So Andrew's going to send me some questions because I have no idea what just happened to my screen. I have this weird Windows Defender error code thing that popped up that won't even let me X out of it. So it's kind of stuck. So I'm stuck here on video. Every time I get on this thing, I have issues. I don't know what it is with this, but it's got to be me. But anyway, Andrea's gonna text me some questions. I'm gonna try to answer them the best that I can when she sends them to me. So let me see. I feel so derelict sometimes with this thing because I always end up having problems every time I go into this thing. And it's not even letting me out. It says your system has detected possible suspicious activity. Please contact system support. I know that it's a fake thing, but it's not letting me out. So I can't even go over to anything here. It's just not letting me. So I'm going to, yeah, it's not even letting me. So Andrew's going to text me some questions. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. And again, rehab costs are very important, and let's go back to blind offers for a minute. When I say blind offers, my agent will send me listings, okay? And I'll go through each one. If I know the area and I think it's a good listing, I'll take that listing. You know what? I'll go to Zillow and I'll try to get an estimated ARV. Now, I don't look at the Zillow estimate on there. What I do on Zillow to get an estimated ARV on a property is I'll go to Zillow with the property address. I'll scroll down to the button that says property sold. There's two buttons in the middle of the page on Zillow. One is properties for sale and one is property sold. I'll go down and I'll click on the property sold button, and that'll bring up a list of properties by date and square footage and how it compares to my property. Zillow has become amazing since it merged with Trulia. I mean, it's just become an amazing website. If you go into Zillow for an ARV on a property and you click on property sold, you click on that, it's going to pull up a list of properties that have sold by date within a mile of that property, and it's even going to compare the square footage and tell you whether it's whether it has more bedrooms or less bedrooms than yours, whether it has more square footage or less square footage than yours, the price it's sold for. You can get a good estimate, rehab estimate, by looking through those properties. You want to pick the ones that have sold the closest to the date that you're at, the more recent sales, and you want to pick the ones that are closest to your size property and see what they sold for. And I'll get, an estimated ARV on that, and then I'll run my basic rehab costs from that, and I'll go and I'll times the square footage by 20, and I'll get an estimated rehab cost. So I'll kind of run my numbers just based on what I find on Zillow as ARV, my estimated rehab costs. I'll run my numbers and make an offer on that property just to see if the seller wants to play ball. If the seller wants to play ball, then I'll go look at the property. Okay. Electronic contractor guide? No, why are people, am I coming to the edge next year? That's funny. Andrea, is that question from you or from them? Am I coming to the edge next year? I'm curious. The electronic contractor's guide, there is an electrician guide, and I'm in my son's room and I'm wondering if he has one here, but there's actually, he might even have one in here. My son is an electrician. He's my electrician. I put him to school. He's my certified electrician. If I could find one of his guides here, I could actually show you what they look like. But the RS Means Contractor's Price Guide is just a basic contractor's guide for pricing. It has some electrical stuff in there, but it doesn't get really into detail. But you can probably get, he has an electrician price guide that comes out every year as well, that kind of prices out, how much wire you need, what switches you need, and all of that. So I believe that they are separate guides. But the one that I'm talking about, see, you're not going to get into electrical work as a wholesaler. You're not going to get into trying to estimate electrical rehab estimates. You're only going to do basic estimates as a wholesaler. You just want to go in and get basic rehab costs. You're not going to get into the electrical systems. You're not going to get into the heating systems because you're going to let your buyer do that. Because you might go in and well, you're going to go in, you're going to see the panel box. If the panel box has, knob and tube in there, of course, the whole house needs to be rewired. That's just common sense. I don't know if many of you know what knob and tube is, but it's actually the little round knobs instead of the breakers. It has little round knobs with these long tubes that come out of it for their electric. So anytime you see that, yes, you're going to replace the electric in a property. So it's called the RS Means Contractor's Price Guide for that. Now, another question is, am I coming to the Edge next year? Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be at the Edge next year. I didn't go last year because we had all that crazy stuff going on here with Baltimore. Remember when we had all the riots? And it was supposed to come that weekend that I was supposed to go to the Edge. All those riots were supposed to come to Philadelphia. And my boys were working in Philadelphia. And I didn't want to go all the way out to Arizona knowing that my boys were in the middle of riots here in Philadelphia. So as a mom, I just kind of sacrificed the Edge and I stayed home just to make sure everything was okay with my own family, because things were starting to get crazy here on the East Coast with all those riots that were going on. And I just wanted to, I didn't want to be, all the way halfway across the country with my dealing with something. So I didn't want to do that. So yes, I skipped the Edge last year, but I do plan on going to next year's Edge. I really want to see everybody. So I definitely want to plan on going. So absolutely count me in on the Edge this year. Clarify knob and tube. Okay. I'm going to do the best I can. Back, I'm going to say in the old days, they used to do, when they put electric in houses, okay, they used something called, all right, stay right here. Let me see if my son has a picture of it. Hold on. Probably not, but I'm trying. No. All right, these are all my son's electrical books. Yes, I was not kidding when I tell you my son is an electrician. He's got books upon books. I wanted to see if there was any pictures in here for knob and tube so I can kind of show you kind of what it looks like. But I don't think that he has anything in here like that. Okay, knob and tube is basically knob and tube. Okay. If you look up knob and tubing on say Google, just Google knob, K-N-O-B, and tube, T-U-B-E, electric. Google that and it's going to show you what knob and tubing looks like. And no lie, they're actually these knobs, they look like knobs with tubes that go through the house. And these knobs are in the house like every so many feet. You're going to see them in the basement along the rafters. You're going to see a knob and then some tube and then some knob and then some tube. That's how the electric current went through the house, through these knob and tubes. But they're not safe. So nowadays, if there's ever knob and tube in a house, it has to be removed and replaced because there was a lot of fires caused by the knob and tubes because it wasn't safe. So when your buyer goes for inspection, it's going to fail inspection if it has knob and tubing. That all has to come out of there. It can't be active in a house. So you need to look at your panel box, and you're going to see if there's in the panel box, if there's circuits, like, the little ones that flip back and forth, when your lights go out, you just flip a fuse and you can flip it over. They're good, okay? But if you have the fuses, they're the round fuses that are in a row, and they're the big round ones with the little glass on the top. You're not allowed to have them anymore. They have to be, I know here on the East Coast, you're not allowed to have them. I don't know about where you are, but here, you have to replace all those knobs, and you have to replace the whole panel box. So, a whole system, a whole house rewire is probably going to run you probably around $5,000 to rewire a whole house. So, you know, but if you get the contractor's price guide, it may very well give you that price in there. I'm not sure because I just call my son and he gives it to me. Okay, now when you're estimating a boiler or a roof, okay, again, the contractor price guide, it's hard to tell me because, you know, it's weird because in each state, like here we use oil heat boilers, hot air vents, whatever, but in Arizona, they have a whole different heating system, you know, so it's hard for me to say how to estimate that, but if you get the contractor's price guide, it's going to have a section in there on how much it's going to cost to replace the kind of heater that you have. It's going to tell you the labor cost, the purchase cost, etc. I mean, for an example, in a rehab that I just did, I replaced the whole AC unit and heating unit. It cost me $5,000. It's a 1,500 square foot place. So if you get the contractor's price guide, that's going to break it down for you as far as how much it's going to cost for the heater, how much it's going to cost for the boiler, if you got to replace them. It's going to have all that there for you in the contractor's price guide. So you're not going to need to know how much it's going to cost because you're going to have that book, and that book's going to tell you right away how much it's going to cost to replace that system. So that's why it's so important. That's why I'm telling you to get this book. It says, you know, to estimate a boiler or roof. To estimate a roof, you need to, again, the contractor's price guide, it depends on it. Is it a shingle roof? Is it a flat roof? Is it a tar roof? Your price guide is going to break down. Let's say you have to have an asphalt shingle roof. You take the square footage of your property, and it's going to tell you what to times it by to get the price, the cost of replacing that roof. So that's why the contractor's price guide is so important, because it's absolutely going to break down. So you can look at the roof and say, okay, it's a shingle roof. The house is 1,500 square feet. Let me go into my price guide. I'm going to look up shingle roof, square footage, and it's going to tell me exactly how much it's going to cost. Labor, materials, taxes, dumping it, demoing it. It breaks it all down to the exact cost of replacing the roof. I mean, how awesome is that? So again, that's why the contractor price guide is so important. You know, a boiler, replacing a boiler, a lot of times if you go in and look at a property, there's always 9 times out of 10, you're going to see a little tag on there that's going to tell you when the heater was last serviced. So if the last service date on there was 1999, then there's a problem, okay? Because that means the heater wasn't kept up with. So I'm automatically going to assume that that heater needs to be replaced. It's just something, it may not have to be, but just by looking at that tag that is 16 years old now or whatever, I'm going to assume that. But a lot of times, if people are keeping up with their heaters like they should be, and they're getting them serviced regularly, you're going to see a tag on there that's going to have a date. You know, 2013, fine, I'm okay with that if it was serviced in 2013. That was only, you know, 2 years ago. But if it's back in 1999 was the last service date, and there's a lot of junk and gook on that heater, I'm going to estimate that heater needs to be replaced. Another indication is, you know, run it and see if the hot air comes out. Sometimes, especially with REOs, though, the house is winterized and heater's off, or if the power's off, then I don't even really worry about it. I let my buyer do that estimate. You know, if that's something that's too much for me to do. Okay, let's see another question, Andrea. Come on, girl. I'm on a roll. So I'm hoping you understand knob and tube. Knob and tube, you'll know when you look at the panel box. You're going to know the difference. If they're the flip back and forth ones, they're regular breakers. If they're the round ones, you got fuses in there, and 9 times out of 10, you got knob and tube somewhere in the house. So you just kind of want to check that out. So let's see if we have any more questions. Andrea is so awesome that she would even do this for me. Every time I'm on here, I have a problem with this. I don't understand. I think it's my laptop. Okay. Is it? Okay, so no, I'm not seeing any other questions. Does anybody have any more questions for Carol the Builder. Rehab lady. You know, it's funny because my husband's been a contractor for 37 years. I've been married to him for 28. And I could actually go into a house and rehab it. Like I can hang drywall, I can do plumbing, I can actually do some electrical work. These are just things that I've learned how to do through the years. You know, that from being the wife of a rehabber. And it's funny because my boys at the age of 4 had hammers and nails in their hands working with dad. And I just put my 2 boys, my oldest boy, he'll be 29. I put him through school and he's now certified in HVAC. He's my heating and air conditioning guy. And I put my other boy, who's my youngest boy, he just turned 26. I put him through to become an electrical contractor. So he's actually my certified electrician. So I really utilize my money very well. I've leveraged my money by putting my boys through school so that they could work with the company. And believe it or not, this is the first time. I just bought a house in North Jersey, and it's the first time I actually brought my 2 boys in with me on the investment. It was pretty cool because they invested in it. They had some money. They invested. I invested. So this is the first time that they're actually going to get a profit from an investment property. So I'm really excited about that they're actually they're taking their funds and they're actually reinvesting it in properties. I do have my two boys are also investing in trailers. They've been buying trailers for like $5,000, rehabbing them and profiting from them. So they're actually doing very well. But again, they are my rehabbers. I don't have to hire outside the family for any of my rehabs because, believe it or not, my husband's my GC. He's my general contractor. And then my brother-in-law is my bricklayer. I have another brother-in-law who's my plumber. I've got another brother-in-law who's my engineer. So it's all within the family, which is really cool because every time I get a rehab, everybody in the family works it, and it really works out pretty well. And now you might not have that privilege, but you know, there are good contractors out there that will do your rehabs for you. You've just got to really screen them. You know, when you're looking for contractors for your rehabs, make sure, I always tell everybody, go through Angie's List, because if you go through Angie's List to find your contractors, though they may be a little bit more expensive, they're going to be a lot more reliable than, you know, the contractors that you find on Craigslist. So I am hoping that everybody learns something tonight on this rehab chat. I'm sorry that I can't get into the chat to answer questions, but what I am going to do is I'm going to log off right now, okay? Got 15 minutes left in this video. I'm going to log off the chat, the video, and then I'm going to go hop on another computer so that I can kind of come in and chat with you guys for the next 15 minutes, if that's okay. So again, you're not going to be able to see me. I'm going to go off the video, but I'm going to go jump on another computer so I can kind of get in there and chat with you guys. So just give me a couple minutes and I'll be right in. All right. Thank you. Bye.